My faith is my shield. As long as the Emperor wills it, I shall serve. Steel yourself, brothers, for we have been summoned again. Through the destruction of our enemies do we earn our salvation. Strike fast, my brothers, and attack without warning. What is your duty? To serve the Emperor's will. What is the Emperor's will? That we fight and die. And what is death, my brothers? It is our duty. We may be few and our enemies many. Yet so long as there remains one of us still fighting, one who still rages in the name of justice and truth, then by the Allfather, the galaxy shall yet know hope.
...2021 is saved. I was beginning to lose hope, but I'm so happy. So Warhammer 40k Darktide is a first-person action game being developed and published by Swedish video game studio Fat Shark. That is a direct quote from the wiki here, and these are the same people that gave us Vermintide 1 and 2, and mind you guys, that was the best gory hack and slash video game I've ever played, next to Left 4 Dead, which is kind of in the same realm, right? The reason Vermintide was so good was because of the cooperative gameplay and the style of the different classes. In Left 4 Dead, there wasn't really a whole lot of options. It was pick up a gun and shoot things. In Vermintide, you got Fire Lady, you got Big Man, you got Little Man, and you got Arrow Lady, all right? These are the people that make up Vermintide and are the very backbone of the game. Without these characters, sure, the combat is fun and satisfying, but these characters are what really set the game apart from anything else. Anything from their witty dialogue to each other and getting really snarky with the remarks, especially between the dwarf and the elven lady, they go at it all the time and it is quite funny.
Tell me you feel it. The weave shudders. I fear what comes next.
I think RL fights something that doesn't agree with her.
Don't mock.
Now, what we know about Darktide so far is that it's set in the 40k universe, which is interesting because I know nothing about that universe. The only things I know is blood for the blood god, something about the Emperor, and I'm almost positive Warhammer 40k fans don't even know what Warhammer 40k is themselves. So I'm just gonna not even try and pretend like I know what any of those things are. But as I can tell, it's gonna be released on Microsoft Windows, Xbox Series X and S, and that's okay. You could have just probably said PC, but because whenever someone hears Microsoft Windows, they kind of get scared. I know I get scared. But oddly enough, I did not see a PS5 thing on here, so that's a little spooky. Now, from what I saw of the gameplay trailer, it looks like it's very similar to the combat. They have the same like block push where you kind of push the enemies forward from the blocking stance, which is used to kind of get the enemies off you. And then from there, they're at a stun state, and then you can slash your way through these enemies. This is a very useful mechanic and something that is core gameplay at higher levels. But I don't know how that translates too well in Warhammer 40k because now we have gunplay. As shown in the trailer here, there is people using rifles and guns, which is interesting because in Vermintide, the only thing you had was arrows and like these like iron buster like pistols that the dwarf got. So that was like the closest thing we got, and there was no ADS or anything like that. So I don't know how this is going to work in Warhammer 40k. I'm not even sure if there's going to be variants. I'm sure there's going to be, but I just, I don't know what they're planning. Another quote from the wiki page that I'm reading right here is the developers commented saying that Darktide is planned to be less melee focused than Vermintide 2, which I don't know how I feel about that, but as long as the gunplay is satisfying and I can still do really, really cool stuff, I'm not going to complain, but I am a little bit worried on how that's going to work because it's pretty hard to make shooting somebody look cool, and there's only a few games that really get it right, but I guess we'll have to wait and see how they plan on making this work better than melee combat, because if you haven't played Vermintide, the melee combat is beyond satisfying and there's a flow and a rhythm to it, and if you can't master it, you're gonna fail the mission every single time. So this probably is the one thing that's a little spooky, but I don't think it's that bad. They also did say it's more on the lines of like a 50-50 split between melee and ranged combat, so at least they're not totally ex-naying on melee combat and it's down the middle, so I guess I'll be satisfied either which way as long as it looks cool and feels good. Now I'm just kind of going to speculate really quick about the classes. So I'm sort of looking at this screenshot right here, and it's 4 people, and you got the big hulking big man, and then you seem to have some sort of a soldier, military type, you know, whatever. I honestly don't know. You'll have to forgive me. I don't know Warhammer 40k terminology. I am so sorry if I butcher these, but some sort of military-esque soldier man or woman, I can't really tell. And then we have somebody who is holding a hammer, which is rather interesting. Big man holds the hammer too, as well in Vermintide, so maybe it's something that's going to be on the same level of that. And on the far right over here, or left, depending on what way your perspective is, this person seems to have some kind of like laser sword or something. Very, very interesting. I've never actually heard or seen any of these weapons before. Like, I've seen Warhammer 40k stuff, and none of this stuff looks familiar to me. Especially the big guy. I've never seen Warhammer 40k have like a no armored big dude. I've always seen them suited up and ready to, you know, rock some shit, but this guy is just in a tank top and a shoulder pad and a knife. Like, that's very different for me. Now, as I look through the gameplay, there is a lot of resemblance to Vermintide. With the way the hammer swings and how it just knocks back after you swing, it really looks the exact same way as Vermintide. And I like this chainsaw blade thing. Not sure what that's called, but it looks absolutely phenomenal, and I really want to use that thing. As I was looking through the trailer, I noticed that the woman that was holding the giant hammer, she is holding a gun later in the trailer. So maybe there's a mix between melee and shooting, just because I assumed that the classes were locked to certain weapon types. So my guess is she can use melee and range weapons at the same time. Some characters can't do that. So like Sienna, she can only use melee weapons and a staff per se. Like, she can't use a bow and arrow or a gun. Her staff is the ranged weapon. However, this seems to be a bit more technical with weapons, and so she can use a hammer and maybe a gun. So that's, I guess, something that maybe we can use. And I also noticed that Big Man has a grenade launcher on his back, and he's actually using this throughout the entire game here. So this is pretty good. And the baddies that I'm looking at, these are clean. They look spooky. They look freaky. I don't know how I feel about all this. And that's another thing that I had heard and read about, is that this game seems to be more focused on the horror aspects. So there's going to be a lot of spooky stuff, a lot of dark corridors. The enemies are supposedly going to be working together against you. So there's going to be a lot of different aspects that are going to be different from Vermintide 2. I know that's obvious as fuck, but I wasn't expecting them to take a horror route, which I'm well aware within the Warhammer universe. Horror is kind of a big thing, so that's cool, I guess. It's a definite change of pace, and I'm all for it, realistically. Honestly, that's kind of everything I know. This is just speculation and me analyzing the trailer and reading some wiki stuff. I'm not really going too in depth with it because I'm kind of just going to maybe save it for a separate video or whenever. But that's it for today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.